Okay, I'd like to welcome you all to the village board meeting, 7 o'clock, Monday, May 8th. Like the roll call of officers, open meeting law compliance check. We all please stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, any public input? No public input. We'll move on to Belgium Area Chamber of Commerce report. No chamber report. Okay, then we'll move on to staff and committee reports. Leon, what do you got for us?
The only thing that we had this month was, we had one incident where a dog was loose, bit a property owner. And the sheriff's department was called and they took the dog down to the Humane Society. I first found out about this 2 days later. But anyway, the dog had to be quarantined for 10 days. And she got the dog back now. And the sheriff's department is going to be issuing her a citation for a dog at large. And I have tried contacting her tonight, but she wouldn't answer, and to find out if the dog has been vaccinated and it's not licensed. So I'm waiting to find out if it is vaccinated before she got it back from the Humane Society, whether I pursued any further with the citation or something yet.
I have a question. What kind of dog was it?
A little white Chihuahua.
Little ones are vicious.
They're mean.
So little ones that'll get you every time.
So does she still get a
The only
fine?
reason I asked is because there's family that owns 2 Rottweilers and one got off the leash and started attacking my dog.
Okay. And when did this happen?
Oh. I've already talked to the person that walks the dogs and told her no uncertain terms that next time.
Yeah, and the reason this dog got out is the lady wasn't home, and it's a new house, and the painters went in to paint it out, and the dog got out. That's the only reason she said the dog got out during the day. So I'm still waiting to see the door, if it's been vaccinated or not. If it isn't, well, then I'll have to pursue it a little further.
Pretty sure the Humane Society would not release the dog back.
If it wasn't, yeah,
I'm thinking, but
That's normal protocol.
or they would have vaccinated it
They would have
before they would have
vaccinated
released it.
they talked and he didn't hear nothing yet from, he heard from the sheriff's department yesterday that they are issuing her a citation, but they did not hear anything from Humane Society yet. And we called the Humane Society, said they're working on the paperwork. I'll have to wait and see if they do it any further than that or not, I don't know. If it's vaccinated, I just gotta tell her she's gotta get it licensed, so I don't know if I should give her a citation for that yet, or just with the one that she's getting from the sheriff's department.
As long as she gets a license with a reasonable amount of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Looking for compliance on that.
And there's a late fee built into the licensing automatically.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
That's it. Anybody else got anything for Leon? Not, Danny, could you give us an?
Yeah, I'll just give you an update on the park project. It's probably 96, 97% done. There's 2 more pours out of concrete that are being complete then. The plumber finished up last week, Thursday. The electrician finished up probably a month ago. They had sent their final bills in for approval. There's just a couple items what Mason has to touch up in the bathroom. Just do some caulking where the inspection joints are and and a little mortar in some places, but very minimal. So our goal is to have them open for this weekend for the annual rummage sale. And we're gonna have it pretty well roped off, because we just, planted the grass there last week, Thursday. We got that all roped off, and we ain't gonna allow them on there, they're gonna have to walk down Beach Street and get on, Conrail before it. I mean, I can tell you, there's a lot of good compliments from the residents when they stop in there and look at it, I mean. If you guys didn't go down and look at it, but just look at the shelter and the building and everything, it's just, you know,
Beautiful.
Yeah, even from the road, it's starting to look nice
It's
now.
great,
It's starting to
yeah.
look complete.
yeah. So, and Roger did the inspection last week, and he's gonna give us an occupancy permit. He just wanted, we put the men's and women's, signs on by the bathrooms, so. We told us where they had to go, and Donnie Miller today was finishing up the steps in the gazebo. Painter is, I would say, 98% done, so. It wasn't the rain last week, Monday and Tuesday, the concrete work been done.
Right.
So we got held up, and then got held up today, so.
Since my report, we have received $1,000 funds, which shows that we now have 43,000.
And I'll talk to you after the meeting, the Belgian Lions have decided on a donation as well, so. I'll give you that number.
Did you hear anything about the tables
Tables.
from, Jim?
We had Jim tonight, and coming back tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yeah. It turned out beautiful.
Perfect.
Anything else on the park? If not, we'll move on to EMS report, Chris.
Sure, so joint EMS committee met as a whole on Tuesday, April 25th. Thank you, Rose, for putting together the detailed notes that are in the packet, for those who want to read through that, but a couple of the highlights. Just quickly for this group here tonight is the 129,000 in startup money that was required is approved and secured. So they are now in the process of looking for the paramedic truck. And they have, as of the meeting on the 25th, they have 2 paramedic applicants that they're reviewing and looking for a third and expecting a third and a fourth to come in. We'll need 3 to have a 24-hour service on the paramedics. So that's where that is. Right now, we're targeting a full startup by either June or July of this year for that service. And then the other agenda item was regarding the early discussions of a joint fire department. So we just kind of talked through, you know, all the representatives of all the fire departments in the area were there. Kind of talked through the need, most are on board, but we decided to just table it through the summer and pick it up again in fall. We're looking at that to be probably a 3-year project to get that put into place. But as early work, Christoph Jenkins from the Village of Fredonia Administrator's Office is going to pull together a couple of other municipalities that have done this in terms of how they set up their budgets, just so we have some sort of framework to review
Right.
and work from. So those are the high points of the meeting.
Okay, any questions for Chris or Rose or Dan? Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda items. I'll make a motion, we approve the items A and B.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 9, there is no unfinished business. Number 10, we'll go to new business. And we'll start out with Wendy Unger from Baker Tilly. All kinds of numbers for us, I bet.
I do have all kinds of numbers. Thank you for having me here. Hopefully in your packets, you provided your audited statements, your reporting and insights document, and then a couple page handout that I will use to go through both of those documents. Always the objective of the audit was to issue an opinion on the financial statements of the village. We've done that, included in your audited booklet is a clean, unmodified opinion. Highest level of assurance that you can obtain. I will just make a note that there is, if you are an individual that compares year-to-year reports, there is an emphasis of matters paragraph included in the audit opinion for 2022. There was a new governmental accounting standard, or GASB, that was effective for municipalities in 2022, that was GASB 87, and that's the accounting for leases. So if you look through your footnotes, you'll see some additional information regarding the situation where you lease your water tower for the cell company. So there is some additional stuff that's included in there, but again, very positive results. Moving to the next page of the handout, this is where I've highlighted some very high-level financial information for the governmental funds of the village. First column, there's the general fund, $4.6 million of revenue, $4.8 million of expenses. Now, when you look at those numbers are very large for 2022. You did a borrowing of over $3 million during 22, and you also had your road projects. So again, very large numbers in comparison to what you would typically expect there. When you look at it from a budgetary standpoint, revenues were very close to roughly $50,000 over in total. Expenses came in over budget, and really there were two reasons for that, all associated with your projects and your borrowing. You had costs that came in more than what you had anticipated for your project, and then you had some borrowing and costs associated with the debt issuance. So overall, the general fund, when you put together your 22 budget, you budgeted to use a little bit of fund balance, roughly $4,000. You actually used $250,000 of fund balance. Keep in mind that that was a part of your plan, because you did have some borrowed money from 2021. So you used up some of those monies that were on hand. So at the end of 22, you had $552,000 of fund balance in your general fund. There's three pieces to that. 13,000 is prepaids, so that money is gone. You've spent it, but you won't recognize the expenses till 23, so that comes out. There's another portion, 159,000. These are monies that are restricted. These are impact fees, your stormwater fees. There's also some remaining unspent borrowed money in there, roughly $48,000. So those monies are set aside for those purposes. And then the remaining balance, 379,000, that's unassigned. That's your working capital, your rainy day fund. That represents roughly 21% of your operating budget. And when I say that of your 23 budget, because 22 is a really poor percentage because your expenses are so high, but again, by design. The next column is your TIF 4, special revenue fund, $813,000 of revenue. Most of that's increment. We spent $1.4 million. That was paying down principal and interest on debt. Used $608,000 of fund balance and ended the year at $163,000. All that money is restricted for purposes of the TIF, and we are working on doing that closeout audit for that fund. The next column is your ARPA fund. This is the money you received from the federal government. You received that in two tranches, one in 21, one in 22. There's a little bit of income in this column, roughly $2,000. That's all interest earnings. That money that you did receive from the federal government is sitting on your balance sheet, doesn't get recognized as revenue until you spend it. So you have, at the end of 22, roughly $245,000 of unspent ARPA money. That money needs to be spent or committed for expenditure before the end of 2024. The next column is your debt service fund, $322,000 of revenue. A portion of that is taxes. A portion of that comes in from your general fund. You spent $315,000, added $7,000 to fund balance. That $7,000 that was added was part of the 22 borrowing that will be used to make interest payments. So that's just $7,000 that will have to come out of your general fund in 2023 to help make principal and interest payments. So it's there now, but it'll be gone in 2023. The last column here is your capital project fund. This is the last governmental fund of the village. $205,000 of revenue. A good portion of that, $188,000, is monies that you transfer out of your general fund to earmark for certain projects and equipment. You spent $345,000 during the year. A couple of things, you did the public works building concrete. You obviously have your park project, and then also the fire truck, the money that was spent on the new fire vehicle during the year. So you used $140,000 of fund balance and ended the year at almost $780,000 of funds that are available for future projects. On the last page of the handout are the remaining two funds of the village. The water and sewer utilities, just a couple items to note on these. The first column is the water, 610,000 of revenue, very close to prior year. When we look at the utilities, we compare that to current year to prior year versus to a budget. Again, very close from the standpoint of charges to customers. Expenses, $544,000. That was up roughly $30,000 over the previous year. Depreciation was up. You depreciate your capital assets by roughly 14,000, and then you did have an additional employee that also added some additional cost. So overall, the water utility added 66,000 to its net position. This compares to a $180,000 addition last year. You're gonna hear this on the sewer side also. The reason for the decreases in 2021, there were assets that were contributed to the village. Those flow through as revenue. You didn't have any of that type of activity this year, so that number is a little bit lower. The water utility ended the year at $5 million, over $5 million of net position. Very large number. Always remember that that includes your infrastructure, your capital assets. So it's a very large number in comparison to fund balance, because those other funds don't carry assets on their books. Of that 5 million, 1.16 million is cash. Most of that is unrestricted. There's a small portion restricted. There are some impact fees that are included in there and some debt service reserves. Overall, during 22, the water utility used roughly $120,000 of cash on various some asset activity. Again, a strategy and a strategic use of that money as expected. The last column, sewer utility, $958,000 of revenue. Again, public or charges to customers, very consistent. That number is a little bit higher than the previous year by roughly $30,000. You did have the insurance reimbursement for the roof damage during 2022. Likewise, on the expense side, you'll see some increase in expenses due to that. There's not a netting. Those are shown gross. So $839,000 of expenses. That's up $61,000. Again, a portion of that is the new roof, and then a portion is the rebed clean that was done. So overall, added $119,000 in net position in comparison to a $380,000 add last year. Ended the year at 4.9 million of net position. 1 million is cash. A good portion of that is restricted though. 602,000 is your equipment replacement fund. And then the remaining is unrestricted. The sewer utility did see a nice increase in cash, roughly 105,000 in 2022. Switching gears just very quickly, the last item on the handout is the reporting and insights document. That's the additional document that you should have received. That allows us to communicate comments, recommendations, any findings as part of the audit process. Just a couple things to note. We continue to communicate the segregation of duties over payroll and material weakness because we do the financial statements and become part of this internal control. Again, not unusual or unexpected for entities the size of the village. The only other item I would note in there is similar to 22, there is a new GASB effective for 23. That is GASB 96. And that is the accounting or the handling of subscription-based IT arrangements. And that sounds like a very exciting topic, but I don't know that it'll have any significant impact as GIS systems or SCADA systems or those type of things. There might be some other types of those arrangements, but again, probably not material figure, and if not material data. So at this point, that is what I have prepared. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the documents or the audit process, or if you prefer to talk in more detail, I think Julie can provide my direct information. I'm happy to have that conversation offline also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to 10B, approve ordinance number 04-23 as recommended by the Plan Commission to rezone vacant lot in the northwest corner of First Street and County Road LL. Tax key number 18-023-06-024.00 to be rezoned from B2 Community Business District to RM1 Multifamily Residential District.
I really think we should table this until we get the numbers.
What?
To find out whether we're within the parameters that we set for single family homes and multiplex.
We can approve this conditionally upon plan development if it's approved.
Yeah,
So,
Okay,
Brad, do you have anything on this?
No, it's, you know, the discussion obviously can take place. You had the public hearing, so it's conditional approval. And the zoning is the one thing for the building, how it gets done, that's,
right.
this is the first step, obviously.
Right.
Danny, you got anything? No. You guys got anything?
What, I guess, what percentage are you referring to?
we have a percentage of single family homes and a percentage of multiplex in the village, and I just want to know for sure that this is okay with the numbers.
Well, I would like to think it wouldn't have gotten this far if it wasn't.
Well, actually, developers would have no idea.
Oh.
That's a part of our comprehensive
Right.
plan. So, you know, it's actually, I believe, the planning commission that determined if it would be approved based on whether or not it fits within the
Numbers.
comprehensive plan. But zoning, of course, doesn't play a part in that.
Right.
So I'm guessing the plan commission did not look at that then, at the time of the recommendation.
We didn't.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to conditionally approve ordinance 04-23 as recommended by the plan commission to rezone vacant lot on the northwest corner of First Street and County Road LL to be rezoned from B2 to community business, B2 community business district to RM1 multifamily residence district.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 10C. Approve public utilities recommendation to not renegotiate AT&T water tower lease agreement.
So what we have here is, we got a letter from the AT&T, river contract is 2030 with them.
Yes.
Yeah, back in 2015, they sent the same letter. They're trying to negotiate the payments for their
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
They're trying to renegotiate the payments that they're already bound by the contract.
Yeah.
Their site.
Basically, the letter was word for word.
Yeah, and they kind of word for word, yeah, they kind of say, well, if we don't do this,
Literally,
like an
but-
alternative site. I'm not sure where that would be.
I'm not sure either,
I
so
just want to pay less.
They just want to pay less.
I feel like it's something that they're required to do like every 5 years or something that they
They're
do.
in it, doesn't hurt them.
Right.
So that's. Is there any questions on that with us? My committee?
What is the payment they make to us? Is that monthly or yearly?
They, yeah, AT&T makes
Look at here, 16,325.87
$16,000.
last year, 3.1.
And that goes into tower repair, Danny?
Yeah,
Put it in there, so.
in the tower fund. The same.
They frequently come back.
I guess when I look at those numbers, Brown's your thoughts on that?
$60,325.
Days.
Yeah,
I make a motion to approve Public Utilities recommendation not to negotiate with AT&T water tower lease
I'll
agreement.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion on that?
That's Brad's opinion on that. I only comment, you see this not just municipalities, but other private property owners that have site towers. You know, it's something that's fairly common. You open this up for the negotiation. You know, it just kind of bears on what the market is on each individual site, so By not choosing to negotiate with them, there's always a risk that once the term expires, but you're under contract, how many terms are left of this guidance?
One more term.
One more.
So
My guess is 2
We'll
years
see
from now,
it again.
they'll
They'll do the same thing.
We'll see it again.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll see it again before
Or someone will
30.
tell reduction.
You will,
You will.
you will.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, motions are made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motions are made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes.